Hey guys, Harv here, and welcome to the finale of our That's No Moon base, the series in which we take viewer submitted utilities and put them together to make one land-based base on the surface of the moon. Now, in the previous episode we did some penultimate workings in the version 0.20. There has since been an upgrade to the game, meaning that saves have had to be upgraded, as we just did right then. Unfortunately, this has had some interesting consequences with our base. You may remember how it was a flat, smooth plane. No longer. Someone's put a crater right in the center of where the base was. And now there's not an awful lot of it left. It was kind of good timing, I suppose. It gives us an aim, gives us a goal for today's video. What would I do with the base? Well, someone was suggesting before we started recording this, I should make a bomber and I should go destroy everything that I've spent ages working on. Or another thing along a similar vein was I should move everything off the moon and land it back on Kerbal. And it's kind of already done both of those for me. Not landing it back on Kerbal, but certainly destroying everything. The spontaneous eruption or implosion of land that caused this crater somehow managed to destroy the entirety of the base, apart from wheeled utilities, of which there are about 3. So yeah, we have a very limited base left. So I don't really have to go around destroying it. What I do want to do, however, just to tie things off, is to find any surviving Kerbals and bring them back to Kerbal safely. That is going to be the aim of today's mission. And look at that flag. I really do like that flag. That flag is just so good. So, I said wheeled utilities survived, and they mostly did. I mean, a few popped tyres, but that's nothing that can't be fixed. By 3, I meant the moon tractor we have here, the habitation module counterweight that was docked onto the back. We can get rid of that because we don't need it. And the cannon has survived. But we shall come to that later. For now, we've got the moon tractor with its one surviving Kerbal inside it. That is, of course, the one and only Sondorf Kerman, who you've never heard of before. He is one of the surviving crew. We don't know how many others are left. So the first thing to do is to go around looking at all the utilities we have that have crew storage capacity. And the closest one is this beacon, because we landed it right in the very first episode, and it did actually have this small command pod based in the centre of it. So we'll get our brave Kerbal out, we'll wander over to this command pod and let's check to see if there's anyone in there. Unfortunately, I think in the 11th, in the previous penultimate episode, one of the things I did finish off was actually move everyone out. There we go, it's empty. Was to actually move everyone out of their constituent containers and to put them all in one place. Which isn't a particularly good way to deal with a sudden crater, because that means if that one module dies, everyone dies with it. So, that command module didn't have anything in. The next closest thing is the lookout tower, which I almost specifically remember no one being in, or there may have been actually one person in there, and that was the shuttle pilot. I think something to do with exiling him to be on lookout duty or something. Well, the cupola pods have both been destroyed, and yep, these hitchhiker crew tanks are definitely empty, so we can assume that he perished in the addition of this new landform. And we'll get back in our moon tractor. The next thing along is the shuttle, which is the only reliable way off of the moon. And taking a look at it now, it seems that, oh yeah, there's no engines. Okay, so we've got no reliable methods of getting off the moon. We might as well park up here, go over, get out the vehicle once more, and go check whether there's anyone left in it. Chances are, and I'll let you in here on a secret, chances aren't very large. But we'll fly over, using some RCS fuel that we have unlimited amounts of, as long as we can get back to our command pod to refill. And we'll take a look. Is there anyone in the command pod? And it's a no. Although the shuttle is slowly sliding down the hill, which is interesting. But yeah, so no one in there. Where else? Well, after a little while of driving around the wreckage, we don't find anything else really intact, apart from the cannon. The shuttle was the only reliable way to get off the moon, but it wasn't the only way. We do have the cannon here, which we can use to launch Kerbals up into orbit, or specifically Kerbal. because that was a weird pronunciation, because Sandbox is the only Kerbal left alive on the surface of the moon. Or so we think. There might be someone amidst the rubbish. Maybe, but there's so much of it that we can't simply swap to him and hope to find him. No, there's way too much debris for that. So, sorry, just a bit of a cough there. And things are randomly exploding. So we're going to take this cannon, we're going to move it down here for reasons. I don't know. I decided I wanted to relocate everything when I should really be moving this out of the crater. And I see this thing rolling in front of us and think, wouldn't it be funny if we hit it and then spin over? Kind of like that. Now the problem is, if we break any cannon or any fuel tank or anything really crucial on this, we have no way to get off the planet or off the celestial body under our own means, which is kind of a bad thing because I don't really want to go and build a lander to come and rescue him, although it probably wouldn't be too hard. It's something I've done quite a few times. But anyway, so we've moved the cannon down there, which is kind of pointless because now we're going to have to bring this down here and flip it back over. Luckily the landing gear that form the utilities flipper, the moon tractor's landing leg flipper thingamajobby on the front, are still intact, and we've got both of them ready to ram underneath and flip it upside down, or from being upside down to being the right way up. So we'll come over here, we'll get a bit of a runway, and we can jam them underneath there and break one of them off. Wait, that wasn't the plan? Damn it. Yeah, okay, so now we've only got one of the two utility things that made up this flipper, but not to worry, we do have engines. We have VTOL engines, and if we turn the two back ones off and keep the two front ones on, we can maybe lift the front end of this tractor and just push the bar that's wedged underneath that cannon up enough for the thing to turn over. Go on, and we succeed, but we're upside down ourselves. Okay. Well, how about we use the 0.21 update for reaction wheels to torque over and flip, and now we're the right way up, but it's upside down. Two sides of the same coin. Doesn't seem to be working. Oh, but there we go, we're the right way up, it's upside down. Okay, come on, we can do this. We can do this. All we've got to do is flip this, and then we've got to take it up over the hill, and the plan is that we'll launch Kerbal into orbit, and then we'll build a rescue ship to go into orbit and pick him up from there, because it will require much less fuel to get him from orbit than it will to get him from the surface of the moon. That's the idea. But there we go, there is the thing flipped back up with the use of those engines, and we are both upright. Okay, brilliant. Now what do we need to do? We need to move this all the way up the hill. So we'll speed up the video to 4 times speed from the 2 times speed it was at. It looked pretty fluid, no doubt, but actually this base lags so much, even when most of it has been destroyed, that I have to put everything up to 2 times speed in editing to make it look quite fluid. And it does, doesn't it? It works quite well. It makes it look almost real speed. It's quite fun to commentate, knowing how long it actually took me to do this entire recording. Something like an hour and 40 minutes. Anyway, we're up here now, and if we go over the lip, we may be able to point the cannon up high enough that we won't have to use the landing legs. My reason being for that was that the landing legs tend to flip us over, but it turns out doing anything with this craft will make it flip over. If only we had some reaction wheels on it, then we'd be able to flip it back over just using torque. But no, we're going to have to go get Sandbox to go fix everything again. Back into the river he goes, and we'll drive them back up the hill. Time is of the essence now. Whilst the thing is presumably rolling down the hill, we need to make sure we get in our command pod quickly. That's not being quick. Go on, just no, get in the command pod. Come on. Grab and board. There you go. Right, so we'll drive this all the way up the hill. This thing, whilst the cannon has got 6 tyres and plenty of power so that each wheel can be functioning continuously, this thing isn't so good at traversing up hills, which is quite a problem. There was a lot of sliding that I've edited out just because it was kind of boring, really. I suppose it might have been fun to watch at 8 times speed, but for some reason Sony Vegas doesn't like doing that. But yes, so once again, we're going to have to flip over the cannon, and then maybe we can actually get on with more exciting part of the mission. So we'll pop up those rear landing gear, which is such an amazing idea, by the way. Still like the idea of having landing gear spare to prop things forwards. We managed to get a flip, and we're going to flip it all the way over twice, 3 times, until it is the right way up. Now we have to swap back to it, climb it back up the hill, and hopefully not flip it over again, whilst making sure that our moon tractor doesn't slide all the way back down into the crater. So, brakes are on, and we've got the cannon now, 10 minutes into the video. Spin this thing around and we'll drive it all the way back up. So as long as we've got both the cannons intact, this should be fairly easy from now on. It's crucial that they don't break. I mean, if we lose one of them, then the entire thing's basically over, you know what I'm saying? That would be disastrous. So we're going to get this the right way up once again, having flipped, and we've lost the cannon, which means that the entire episode is basically a fail. Are we going to quick load? No, because I can't be bothered to quick load today. We've got to do everything first time. But we've lost one of the cannons, Harvey. How can we possibly function without that? And I still don't want to do the whole actually land the thing on the moon, because you know that's way too easy. I'm trying to function with the broken parts we've got left on the base. So the idea now is to use the back cannon. Now the reason there are 2 cannons on this utility is that the opposite thrust will cancel each other out so the thing doesn't actually end up moving. Having only one means we're going to have to do some different firing methods. And unfortunately it's not even the forwards facing one, which is the one we actually use to catapult the Kerbals. Nope, it's the backwards one, which means that there's nowhere for our brave Kerbal to sit. We'll get him out of his command module. We shall try and preserve as much RCS as possible, seeing as we need all we can get now. He can't refuel on the cannon or in space. This is all the fuel he's got that he's taking up with him into orbit. So we'll waddle him over. I love the way they walk. It can be so annoying when you're playing the game at half the speed you're watching it at now, but they walk so funny. Anyway, we have him here, we have him near the cannon. Now we don't want to launch into orbit just yet, because we haven't actually got our rendezvous in position up in orbit in the moon. So we need to build that now. And to start off with, we're obviously going to load up a launch stage, because that makes things much easier than having to build it all over again. This Spacia launch stage stock, although it's not actually stock, I made it, I just put it in that folder. And here it is in all its glory. So all we really need to do is slap something on top. It shouldn't really be that complicated, just a command module, some fuel tanks, an engine maybe, decoupler, parachutes. Oh look, command module, decoupler, parachutes, fuel tanks and an engine, and advanced SAS, and also an extra probe body, because I don't intend to actually take any Kerbals with me in the command module. The idea is to have it completely empty, use the probe so that we can get Sondorf in the seats and he'll have all the room to himself. Unfortunately, for some reason the Kerbals really wanted to get in on the pad, so I had to kind of get them out. And as they fell out of the command pod, they landed on one of the launch stacks. I thought to myself, they're really persistent, they really want to go to the moon. Or at least up off the ground a little way. So I left them there, just sitting on top of one of these stacks of engines, and they're going to have a short ride. We're going to raise this thing up until we get to about our gravity turn, at which point this pair will run out, and we'll drop them and they'll go back down to the KSC. I'm sure they'll be fine, they've probably got personal parachutes or something. What? They don't have parachutes? Oh. Well, they were fools to not bring parachutes, weren't they? What? Oh, it's not in the game? Oh. So, yeah, I've just killed 3 Kerbals in order to save 1. Logic. And we'll get our mission into orbit. So, once it's up here, we can burn basically straight for the moon, seeing as it is actually at the right position in the sky. And we're still using the launch stage. This is why I like having this ultimate launch stage that I've built. It can lift 90 tons or about 100 tons up into orbit, and it looks damn good whilst it does it. But it means if you use any utility which is actually less than 100 tons, you can actually use it even longer, even to get all the way to the moon sphere of influence, which is exactly what we've done. So now detached from it, and we have made sure it'll orbit and crash into the ground. Wait, that's not orbit, that's suborbital. Yeah, it'll go on a suborbital trajectory and crash into the ground, which it has done. Now we get into orbit around the moon. But first of all, before we go out and just swap over to the cannon and launch the Kerbal, I want to do a bit of a rendezvous, because we might as well get some practice in, and also those guys in the space station really haven't had much company recently. They're not going back to Kerbal. That would be a waste of money. No. We're going to leave them in orbit around the moon and forget about them. But, you know, it would be nice just to wave them goodbye for the last time. So we shall select that orbit, get close in, 200 to 150 meters away, burning retrograde to our relative velocity vector. I love saying that. And we get up close. There we go. Just like wave through the window. Hi guys, hi Fredlin and Steve. His name was actually Steve. That's an amazing name for a Kerbal. We're not here to rescue you. Not that you need rescuing, of course. I mean, we've got much more pressing matters to attend to. But yeah, bye. And with that, we'll let it fly away in a slightly different orbits. And we'll swap back down onto the ground. This is the challenging bit. This is the bit we've all been waiting for. The bit where we have to try and launch a Kerbal using a basically broken cannon. It wasn't safe to begin with, and now it's even less safe. So we've managed to lodge him on the back. He's not really in the way of the cannon fire, which, you know, in any other circumstance, not being in the way of a cannon would be a great thing. In terms of Kerbal Space Program, however, we really like being in front of cannons. So we'll load up the engine, or throttle it up, I suppose, and get ready to activate it. Hang on, quick save, and then activate it. And you may be able to see in the distance, once we look back, you may be able to see this pixel just going up and down and up and down. Yep, that is the cannon cartwheeling head over heels, but anti-clockwise direction, because the cannon was pointed on top, so it made it go backwards, you know what I mean. Anyway, we've got around 80% of our fuel left, which isn't particularly much. It's gonna be tricky. We don't know whether we'll be able to get into orbit, and if we do, will we have the RCS fuel left in order to rendezvous with the craft? We may have to do more than we think using the thing up in orbit. So we're going to burn forwards, try and increase our orbital speed as much as possible, otherwise we're going to be stuck on a suborbital trajectory. 6,500 meters off the surface, that is hardly anything. There's probably mountains that high, we need to get higher. So burn straight up, try and give us as much hang time as possible, although it may be a bit too late. I think if we'd burned up a bit more to begin with, and we suddenly carried on burning up now rather than burning forwards and up, we do a bit better. 40% fuel. Ooh, I didn't read the apoapsis, but it wasn't particularly high. Probably about 12 kilometers or so. Trying to burn forwards, should really be burning up 35% fuel, and by the time we get up to a decent altitude we run out. Now this is a problem, because even though yes we should spend all our fuel trying to get into a high orbit as possible, we're actually not in orbit. A, we're not in orbit, which means that we're still going to crash anyway, and B, we've got no fuel to get into the command pod, even if it somehow miraculously was near us. I'll take that as a challenge. So we're going to swap to our rescue mission craft, and we're rescue mission ship, as the game just told me, and we're going to jump orbits. This is not one of the classic rendezvous you've seen from other efficient YouTubers. No, not even one you've seen from myself. This is not a rendezvous, this is kind of a tyre screeching, power sliding, switch of lanes into the wrong direction of traffic rendezvous. Basically, we're going to burn a load of fuel in order to get this guy before he smashes into the ground. So we cross over the orbit, we're at roughly the same altitude in terms of the longitude? Or is it latitude? Height above the equator is what I mean. And now we've gone past it, which isn't particularly great, but it is giving us time, which is what we need. We're too far ahead of it at the moment because we didn't really time the cannon launch particularly well. So now that we've wasted loads of time hovering around in the air, or in the vacuum, we've now let it catch us up a little bit, or it will do in the future at least. You can see our rendezvous markers there, getting closer and closer and closer, until 2 kilometers, 1.2, 0.9, 0.6, 0.3 kilometers away, 0.4 kilometers away. Final bid. Sold. And we have got an intersect. So we now need to time warp, let the Kerbal catch us up a little bit in our slower descent, but we are descending, and that is the problem. It's got no fuel, we are running out of fuel at a very quick rate. We're desperately trying to match the orbits or the trajectories, seeing as it's suborbital, and we are desperately trying to get in close. Don't really know how I'm going to go about this. I mean, I'm suspecting that if I just get close and, you know, magic will happen. But it doesn't seem to be really working out that way. So we'll burn towards him, 7.8 relative meters per second. bounce him off the cockpit. Hey guys, there's no one in there, it's a probe. Oh. Hello guy. So, I don't know what that was, I'm sorry. Okay, the Kerbal can't get onto the ladder. And the command module can't get the Kerbal onto the ladder. So, basically, he's gonna die. 6 kilometers up. Can we hastily get round and smash him into the ladder, and maybe his hand will go through the cockpit and stick there? 4 kilometers up, or more accurately 4.5, 4.3, gotta burn, gotta eject, and too late. So that's the mission over. Go away. We've lost. That's the end of the video. What do you mean we quick saved? Oh, we quick saved! Oh, okay, well that means we could load the quick save, couldn't we? Forget that nonsense I said earlier about not quick loading. Ah, what a fool I must have been to have said that. Of course we're going to quick load. We're going to give this another shot, because now we know what's important on suborbital trajectories. Unless we can get him into orbit, of course, in which case that would be preferable. So we're burning up. No, come on, burn up. Yes, there we go, burning up. Because burning up, and eventually naturally, because we do need to get some orbital speed, is the most important part. We need to give ourselves as much time above the surface as possible. And as well as that, we're not going to burn all our fuel. 15% in the jetpack and a significantly higher trajectory. So we swap over to our craft again, and this time we've got it in the bag. We know exactly what we need to do. And we're in a better position, so we'll end up using less fuel. We burn upwards to try and raise our trajectory out of orbit and just, yeah, focus on the craft. So there you go. To raise our orbit out of the, or our trajectory out of the suborbital. We were in orbit, now we're not, is essentially what I'm trying to say. We'll raise the altitude up to meet that of the trajectory. Our sodford, you're a sod. God, what a sod he is. What's his name? Sondved? My name is Sondved. Sondved German. I can't remember what his name was. He's supposed to be this grave hero that we're... Grave hero? He's supposed to be this brave hero. He's really depressed. He doesn't care about life. He's a grave, pessimistic, kind of half-empty person. What's his name? What's the Kerbal's name? Come on, I missed it. I can't believe I... I've forgotten the guy's name. Sondford. No. Sondorf. Sondorf German. Well, rescuing Sondorf German from his crazy mission. And we've only got 3% fuel left. Wow, that went down quickly. So the rescue mission ship needs to get in close, but it doesn't have to get in that close. We've got plenty of time, or kind of plenty of time. We're 37 kilometers up, so it's kind of plenty of time, I suppose. Get close to Sondorf German, and we shall... I don't know what... Is that a Russian name? That's not even a Russian accent, or it's close, but it's not a particularly good Russian accent. Is Sondorf a Russian name? Or is it some other type of name? Now my accent is getting even worse. I don't know what I'm doing. I may be a little French. No, I'm probably offending a whole load of people doing that. 2% fuel, 1.9876% fuel, and we have grabbed onto the ladder. And I start being really nervous about all the subscribers I'm going to lose. Doing my terrible accents. There we go. So, we're in suborbit. And that's it. We've got fuel, we've got a command pod, and we've got our brave or grave Kerbal. Now it's just time to boost out of the lunar orbit, reach escape velocity, bring our Kerbal periapsis down way into the atmosphere, so we definitely are going to land the first time. Except it's going to be on the dark side, so we're not going to end with a beautiful cinematic shot, unfortunately. But we enter the atmosphere, we can decouple our command module, bam, there it goes. And now it's just time to time accelerate down to the surface. That is it, ladies and gentlemen. We've managed to finish a series. Actually finish one, unlike Permadeath and unlike To Every Planet and Back, where I just kind of cancelled them. We've actually managed to finish a series. We've saved the only surviving member of the crew of that fateful That's No Moon base. And what comes next? I think I have some ideas, but I want you to suggest yours. Although I will probably get a lot of terrible ideas, there are bound to be some diamonds in the rough. So either private message me or leave a comment behind, and I hope you have enjoyed this series. Thank you very much for watching. If you liked the video, please do like the video, and I guess we'll find out next time what series will be replacing this legend. I'll see you all in the next video. Legend? Really? Sounds a bit full of myself.